I have to share it. I won't be able to. Hello, hello. How is everybody today? My name is Jewel. I'm a grateful recovering addict of 8 years. Go live almost every day with my brother-in-law Joe, who just celebrated 19 months today.
It'll be the 30th.
Oh, in a couple days. I'm gonna try and invite a couple people on. Joe has picked a topic for today, who you really are, so that's what we're gonna discuss. I know my finger's in the way, guys. Actually, let me just stop doing that. Hey guys, how are you?
Jamie? Thank you, Amanda.
All right, Joe, I'm gonna let you start.
All right, so today the topic is going to be who you really are. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because last night I was thinking about my mom a lot. And it got me thinking about how sometimes on here it seems like I only focus on like a lot of her horror stories because I feel like it's important for you guys to know because she was in her 40s when she was still using. So I thought it was really important to talk about, you know, the bad things that she went through and, you know, where her addiction, you know, took her in life, because a lot of you guys on here are new to recovery. A lot of you guys on here are old to recovery. A lot of you guys on here have, you know, came and gone. And, you know, some of you guys have, you know, done good and relapsed. So it's a big variety, but I feel like it's important for me to tell a story of somebody who struggled with addiction for so long, being my mother, because if it could have been gone through, she's gone through it. So that's why a lot of times I focus on a lot of her negative aspects, because I feel like it's important and it's more beneficial for you guys to hear about, you know, where that lifestyle will take you if you know, don't clean yourself up. And so today it's going to be a little bit different. Today I'm going to talk about her good side, and I'm going to talk about who she really is, hence the title, Who You Really Are. And, you know, my mother, she grew up in addiction just like I did. Her mom was an alcoholic. Her dad was a drug addict and an alcoholic. And she was exposed to that for the majority of her life. And, you know, she started her drug use and her alcohol abuse at an early age. She was young when she started out, like most people back in her day and even now. And when I was born, she started to get herself together, and you know, she started to clean herself up, and maybe she started, I mean, she had me when she was 19, I believe. So she started cleaning herself up when I was born, kind of like I did for my daughter.
I think that's when she met Bonnie too.
And she was really big into in recovery in her day. I remember her telling me she had her own house, I believe, her own recovery house that she was that she ran, that she helped run and organize. She was big into the meetings.
She started a meeting in Chestertown, didn't she?
I believe so.
Is what my understanding was.
And you know, come to find out, talking to her later in life, I figured out that she didn't do as good as she led people to believe, that, you know, she still was struggling with it. You know, she told me about, you know, kind of being high or going out on a run when I got burned when I was a kid with my babysitter. She told me that later on. And, you know, she told me that she kind of struggled with it. When she went to jail when I was about 5 years old, and she got arrested for attempted murder, and she was high during that time too. So she ended up pleading down to, I think it was aggravated assault, and she ended up doing whatever county life was at the time. She did county time, and they put her on a really strict probation. They ended up giving her 10 years probation for that charge. So I went to live with my grandfather during that time, and when she got out, she ended up getting custody back when she got out of jail. It ended up being a a fight, but she ended up getting custody back. I won't get into the details of that or how it happened because it's not important for today. And when she got custody back, you know, she was doing good again, because, you know, she had that 10 years probation. She had the backup time over her head, and she had me. And, you know, she probably felt like she owed us because, you know, she kind of abandoned us for 2 years. So, she did good for a long time. You know, from that point on, I was about 7. And from about 7 until the time I was, you know, 16, she did really well. You know, she was the type of person that, she always made sure we were okay. She always made sure we were taken care of. If we were struggling, if we had to, you know, move, or if there was something going on, it was always an adventure for us. It wasn't a struggle. You know what I mean? She always made the most out of every situation that we were in. And she always did stuff with us. You know, it's not like, you know, we were just left sitting in the house all day, all the time. You know, we always went out, we went fishing, we went on vacations. You know, we always did stuff as a family. And at the time, she was with my stepdad, Lonnie. And when my mom first got custody back, he was locked up. So I remember us going and visiting him. And then when he got out, he came home, and, you know, we had our little family. And, you know, I had some of the best of times as a kid. You know, it's like we were the working class type family. There were good times, there were bad times. You know, when you're working class, certain things can come up and really, you know, fuck your life up. You know, something comes up, you know, if you lose your job, or if something happens in your job, or your car breaks down, those little things can be, you know, life altering.
Yeah.
When you're a working class individual. But for us, you know, we always got through it. They always figured something out. Mom and Lonnie always figured it out. And, she always made sure that we were okay and we were taken care of. You know what I'm saying?
She was good for that.
She always made sure, you know, we had name brand shoes, we had nice clothes, whatever, you know, we didn't go without, is the point. And, you know, for a while, our life as a family was a steady progression. You understand? We went from a trailer to an apartment to a old rundown fixer-upper house to a nice house in a development, a decent rancher, to a really big, nice house in Chestertown. Well, it was really big and nice to me, you know? And we lived at each spot for 5 years, so it's like, yeah, we moved around a lot, but we had time at each place, you know? We lived with my great-grandparents for a little bit, and I enjoyed that because I loved my great-grandparents to death, so I didn't have no problem with that as a kid. And
most don't, I feel like.
Yeah, and you know, the point of the story is, you know, she always busted her ass, and she always made sure that, you know, we were taken care of. We were a very, like, affectionate type of family, as far as, like, we fought hard and we loved each other hard. You know what I mean? When we were arguing or we were fighting, it was vicious, but we always, you know, expressed how much we cared about each other and how much we loved each other, and we were always really close. And she ended up, when we moved from Chesapeake Landing to Chestertown, back to Chestertown, she ended up getting a really good job. She was managing Great Oak, and when she worked there, that's when, you know, we really started realizing that for us, for our standards, she was making really good money, and it was cool. We got to go to Florida sometimes twice a year, and stay for weeks at a time or a week at a time, and you know, the Christmases got better, the vacations got longer, so she made more, and instead of thinking about herself and thinking about you know, building for her future, she always just wanted to give it all to us and make sure that, you know, we got better, or we got more stuff, or we got to take advantage of it. It was never really about her. And she ended up hurting her back when she worked at Great Oak. And that's kind of when things started to take a turn. And in the beginning, you know, she messed her back up, and so of course when you mess your back up, when you rupture discs and slip discs and all this jazz, they give you pain medication. And she was in real pain. So that's kind of when it started. I didn't notice it at first, but as time went on, I started noticing, she's nodding out a lot more often. She's burning up a lot more blankets with her cigarettes. She's talking stupid a lot more times than not. And as a kid, I had so much sympathy for her because I hated to see her being in pain, and I hated seeing that she hurt her back, and I felt so much sympathy for her that I overlooked it. I didn't catch on to it. I didn't notice it. You know what I mean? And it wasn't really until I got older that I started to understand, what was really going on. It took me a really long time.
Yeah, close the door.
And by the time I realized it had, completely gotten out of control. And when she first hurt her back, we lived in Wharton. We lived in Montebello Lake Road. And so she had been dealing with this and maintaining with this for almost 3 different moves. She had been battling just that aspect of it for well over 10 years. And it took a while to catch up to her. You know what I mean? It took a while before I really started noticing an issue with it. And I didn't have a problem with it because I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? It was like, it was normal to me that was the case, and she didn't do anything crazy. It wasn't like she was out running the streets, or it wasn't like all of a sudden her friends, she started making weird friends. It wasn't like that. So I just looked at it like, when mom takes her medicine, she acts kind of loopy. That's just how I looked at it. You know what I mean? And no harm, no foul. But then later on, my brother was in middle school. I was towards the end of my high school career. And that's when, it really got bad. That's when, her and my stepdad split up. I don't really know why, just for whatever reason. And that's when shit really got bad. That's when, she just pretty much, I feel like she just threw in the towel. She just gave up. It's because now, as much as her and Lonnie argued, I feel like she was so used to having him around. It's almost like you don't realize something that you have is good until it's gone. You know what I mean? And I feel like they both went through that. I feel like both of them realized that when they got separated and they were apart. But once there's so much time apart, the wedge is so big that it's kind of something you can't fix. And when you've tried to fix it so many different times, it's almost like, what's the point? We might as well just leave this alone because it doesn't work. And then I feel like she had a hard time coping with the fact that I was going to leave for college. So I feel like, me leaving for college, I feel like really, messed her up. And
I'm going to deal with that, because if not, they're going to come over here and knock this door.
All right. We got a salesman. So anyway, when I was going for college, when I left for college, that's when shit really got bad. Like my senior year is when it was out of control. That's when, that's when the friends started getting weird. That's when she started, running the streets. That's when she was gone all the time. That's when she started losing weight. That's when she started acting crazy. That's when she really kind of let go of my brother and I as far as being a parent. She was kind of just, she became more of a friend than a parent at that point. It was just like, she would get us, she would buy us alcohol and let us drink and, make sure that we were having fun, because I feel like she felt like if we were having fun and we were allowed to run loose, that we wouldn't question her or we wouldn't confront what she was doing. Even though it bothered us, it kind of worked, because we're like, whatever, you gonna let us, run the streets and do whatever we want, we'll let you do whatever you want. But after a while, I got fed up with it, you know what I mean? And I wasn't gonna fake the front anymore, because I was already at the point where, the liquor, the gas station was selling me beer, so I didn't really need you anymore. They had seen me in with so many older people buy alcohol that they just started to assume that I was old enough. And I didn't get carded anymore, and they didn't bother me. They just let me buy alcohol as long as I was spending money. They didn't care. So I didn't really need her anymore for that. So then once that happened, it was kind of like I started confronting her about what she was doing and the fact that, you need to, step up. And she didn't like that. So we fought, and she ended up putting me out, and I called her bluff and I left. So, as you can see through the small story, you can start to see like where her life was when she was using when she was younger, and where she ended up, how good her life was in the middle when she was doing what she was supposed to do and she was staying clean, and that real person could shine through finally. And then who she became again when she went back to it. It's like, it just goes to show you that it never changes. That what happens to you never changes. All it does is change who you really are. And that person who you really are gets covered up.
Yeah.
And you start to become somebody else, because you have to become somebody else to maintain your addiction or your alcoholism or whatever the case may be. And that's why I made the title, Who You Really Are, because in life you need to be who you really are. You don't need to dumb yourself down or cover yourself up or drown yourself, because there's a lot of people who need you for who you really are. You need yourself for who you really are. And I feel like, and the last time she went out there, she stayed out there until 8 months before she died. So from, let's see, 2007, I'd say it started in 2006. So from 2006 all the way until just last year, she stayed out there. So you see, in the beginning, she was using drugs because she was probably young. She was in that party phase. Then she had kids, had responsibilities. She got serious. They sat her down for a little while, locked her up. That might have changed her mind some. And she cleaned up. She was a great person. And she had all this clean time. And then she went back out there. And the last time she went back out there, it almost kept her out there for the rest of her life. So that's something else too. When people talk about relapse being a part of recovery, you never know.
You never know if you'll even make it back.
Yeah, you never know if you're going to be strong enough to knock it and come back. You never know if you're going to be strong enough to, it's almost like every time you go back out there, you just make yourself weaker and weaker, and you allow yourself to believe that this is just the way it is. Sometimes I'm clean, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm sober, sometimes I'm not. And that becomes the new norm. And once that becomes the new norm, then that's just, you never really get that person back. You're never really clean long enough to really totally regain that. All you do is fake people out, because you get clean long enough to get trust back and get people to like you again and want to be around you again. And then you go back out there and you create a new mess.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why. It's like,
why nobody trusts you,
yeah.
Why nobody wants to be around you, and so many times we'll see people that will make posts or comments about, oh, I've got like 10 days clean and my family still hasn't come back around. Well, how many times have you gone out? How many times have you hurt them and battered them and beat them down with your addiction, You can't just expect people to forgive and forget, because addiction is something that hits people to the core. It's not like you stole from the store. You're literally killing yourself. And it's hard for people to just, wipe that clean and expect that, accept that that's over. I had a friend who I had been friends with. We met in 6th grade, so we were 11. And we had been, I guess it was in 2010, in May of 2010. So we had been friends for, I don't know how many years, almost 20 years at that point. And her brother and I had been in a car accident together, and we were all okay. Everybody was fine. We were literally untouched. And she stopped being my friend after that, because she basically couldn't handle my addiction anymore. She couldn't handle, being afraid for me every day or worrying about me every single day. And I was probably almost 2 years clean before she finally come back and was like, hey, I miss you. I see that you're doing good now, and that happens. There's family members to this day that still don't speak to me after 8 years clean, because they just cut me off during my addiction, and you have to accept that that's reality. You have to accept that that could happen to you.
And the biggest thing, like, the biggest giveaway is like, as far as like my mom goes, she was the type of person, she had a lot of friends, a lot of people respected her, a lot of people liked her.
Yeah.
And she was the type of person where like her smile and her energy would light the whole room up.
Yeah.
And when she was in addiction, she would still smile, but it wasn't the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When I would come visit her, before she went on a run, or if she was sick and kind of recovering and taking a few days to get herself together, I'd go hang out with her and sit on the porch and drink, and we'd listen to music and bullshit. And, it was like, she would still smile, but I could tell it wasn't the same. You know what I mean? Like, the smile was not the same. It was, you could tell it was covered. You could tell she was smiling like she could just, because she could see me or because I was there, but she wasn't smiling herself. You know what I mean? It wasn't like she was smiling because she was happy. And being her son, I can tell, you know what I mean? Being somebody that's been on her side forever, I can tell, when she's happy, when she's not. And I didn't get to see her happy for a long time, and when she got clean this last time and was clean up until she passed away, for the 8 months she was clean before she died, she had that again. She got that smile back. And I wonder why, you know what I mean? It's because she was clean. It's because she could see the world again. It's because life was real again. Her family was real again. Everybody was around her that she cared about. We weren't beefing or arguing because of something she did, or something she said. Because there's been times where I've hung out with her and I've rolled the dice and told her she could come over to my house and chill with me, and she's come over and been all fucked up, and I would have to snap on her and kick her out. You know what I mean? And it's like, she don't have to feel that no more. She don't have to wake up the next day and realize, feel guilty or, feel that feeling, because she knows she's doing the right thing. She knows that she didn't
have to try and hide stuff.
Right. She didn't have to lie and hide. She didn't have to
pretend.
Throw her pride in the trash so she could use drugs. She didn't have to become somebody else. She didn't have to lower her standards for herself and for the people around her just so she could get high. You know what I mean? It's like, that shit robs you of who you really are. You know what I'm saying? Once you do that shit, it's like you're a prisoner to the drugs, and you're a prisoner to this new persona that you've created to use drugs. You're just a completely different person. You know what I mean? Even the little things changed. Even like when my mom was out in the streets, she started picking up street talk, and she would start talking to me like that. And I didn't like that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I would tell her all the time, I'm not your yo. Don't talk to me like that. You're my mother. Have some self-respect. Don't talk to me like that. Just the little shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's her becoming somebody else that she's not because of that. Because of the life she lives now, because of the streets that she's in and the things that she's doing. You know what I mean? And that's the shit that's hard to deal with for the people around you, because you become somebody else. And it's just like, to be able to get that back was, one of the best things that ever happened to me and my family. And it was something that I never thought was going to happen again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she had been through it for so long that I thought she was just done. I'm like, she's too old. She's not going to change now. And it is what it is. And that's not true. I got proved wrong. We all got proved wrong. And that's, what I want to tell anybody that's older, that's struggling, that feel like it's too late.
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
It's never too late.
Prove yourself wrong. Prove everybody else wrong. If she did it, so can you. That's just the reality of it. Because I don't care, any crazy story you've heard, anything that you can think of, she's done. So, and probably topped it. Right, exactly. So it's never too late. You've never gone too far. You just gotta, it's just as simple as you just have to do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When my mom got clean this time, she didn't go to a fancy rehab and play that game. She detoxed in jail. Yeah, she sat in jail. She got her head straight. She'd been in there, I think, for like 2 or 3 months, right? 2 months, maybe? Something like that. And I was going to see her, which I never did. I wouldn't seen her when she went to prison, but other than that, I mean, I got to the point where it's like, I'm not going to come see you every time you get locked up. You know what I'm saying? So that time around I did, because it's like, I really thought, when my daughter came and my nephew came, it's like, this hasn't snapped you out of it. This hasn't woke you up yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was heartbreaking for my daughter to be born and for that not to straighten her out. You know, like having me did, or like having my brother did. It was like, this is even more important. You know, this is your grandchildren, you know?
Yeah.
And I would tell her, it's like, you know, you're going to miss out on all this shit.
But you know what I think? I think it just like I thought when I had Russell, I thought that would sober you up. And I think it's because she wasn't there. She knew she wouldn't be around them all the time. So where her mind was, she probably had it made up where, well, she just couldn't use when she would come see the kids, you know, or she'd have to clean herself up a couple days beforehand. And then, of course, that never worked out.
Yeah, it didn't. Just like I tell myself, I don't kid myself that I know I'm rolling the dice every time I drink, because like I tell you guys on these videos all the time, that first night you might have a good time and you might be like, damn, I got this shit under control. You might not black out. You might not do anything stupid. And you'll tell yourself, I got this under control. And you'll keep doing it until eventually, you know, you crap out and you do fuck up and you do something really stupid. And the same was true for her. You know, she felt like, I can just get clean when I'm hanging around my kids and my grandkids. And it didn't work. You know, we had plenty of bad experiences with her trying to do that shit because it didn't work. And that's just the way it is, because she thinks that she can get away with it, and it just doesn't work, you know? And after long-term drug use, you know, you might have been good at hiding it in the beginning, you know, but after long-term drug use, you get sloppy, you get foolish, you think you're smarter than everybody else and you're not, and it's just, it doesn't work. And, you know, you yourself, you're too special to dumb yourself down and cover yourself up for something so small and so unimportant and so damaging to you and everybody else around you. You know what I'm saying? You're so much more important than that. Your life is so much more valuable than that. And there's so many people around you that care about you, whether you realize it or not. And if you've burnt those bridges, then let that be a lesson to you that you will never have a healthy, stable relationship. You'll never have a good companion if that's the lifestyle that you're going to live. You're going to be alone for the rest of your life. And them friends that you think are your friends are not your friends. You OD and find out if they're your friends or not.
Yeah.
They'll leave you there because they don't want to get jammed up. You think they're your friends? Sober up and see if they hang around. Sober up and see if they still talk to you. You know what I mean? You think they're your friends? Leave some money laying at their house and see what happens to it.
Yeah.
They're not your friends. You know what I'm saying? They're your friends based on a matter of convenience.
Yeah.
You're convenient to have around because you make what they do okay. You two, the junkie and the junkie, they validate each other.
Yeah, they co-sign.
Oh, this person's doing it and so am I, so I'll just hang out with them because then I feel like everything I'm doing is all right. Because they're doing it too, so we're not alone. You know what I mean? We're both doing it, so what's wrong with it? What's wrong with everybody else? The problem ain't me, it's y'all, it's everybody else.
You know, the gist for today is about self-centeredness. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just for today, guys. January 26th. The spiritual part of our disease is our total self-centeredness. Basic text, page 20. What is self-centeredness? It is our belief that the world revolves around us. Our wishes, our demands are the only ones worth consideration. Our self-centered minds believe they are capable of getting everything they want if only they would be left to their own devices. Self-centeredness assumes total self-sufficiency. We say that self-centeredness is the spiritual part of our disease because the self-centered mind cannot conceive anything greater or more important than itself. But there's a spiritual solution to our spiritual malady, the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. The steps lead us away from self-centeredness and toward God-centeredness. We strip away our delusion of self-sufficiency by admitting our own powerlessness and seeking the aid of a power greater than ourselves. We acknowledge the bankruptcy of our self-centered self-righteousness by admitting we've been wrong, making amends, and seeking knowledge of what's right from our God of our understanding. And we deflate our overwhelming sense of self-importance by seeking to serve others, not only ourselves. The self-centeredness afflicting our spirit can be treated with a spiritual solution, the 12 steps. Just for today, my guidance and my strength comes from a higher power, not from my own self. I will practice the 12 steps to become more God-centered and less self-centeredness. Less self-centered.
We love you too, Missy.
Yeah, we're not always together, but sometimes we get to go together.
Yeah, I'm in Denton like at least 3 or 4 times a week, but
Yeah, but sometimes you're here late at night.
it just depends on when I come out here.
Yeah. We're actually in-laws, James. You might not have known that, but we're in-laws, so.
And we got to the point too, we were doing these videos every day, but we got to the point where we realized it was better if we spaced them out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it would give us more to talk about. It gets pretty monotonous to do it every single day. And we kind of run out of things to talk about.
Yeah.
So we'll probably put some more space in between our videos now than before.
And we have more technical difficulties when we go live every day.
Right.
So we're going to try to go like 3 or 4 times a week. We'll just have to kind of see how it plays out. So for anybody that is interested, you can always friend request us and you can click to get notified when we go live. We have a community group called Breaking the Chains. We try to share all the videos in there as well. I don't have a way to share the link right now, but I'll share it when we're finished.
And there's a lot of other people out there that do good videos.
Yeah, we're not the only ones.
There's a guy I'm friends with. His name's Carl. Can't remember his last name. I don't see Joanne on here, but she knows who he is. And he does a lot of videos. I mean, sometimes he does 2 a day, 3 a day, whatever. He does a lot of videos.
Does he works at a treatment center, I feel like. I feel like I've seen that. Or there's one that does.
I'm not sure, but I know that he puts out a lot of good content. So you can always, I believe, he shares a lot of his videos to the Clean and Sober group. So if you guys are in that, I'm sure you know who he is or you've seen his videos. And you can go friend request him and follow him. He'll keep you with good content. So, but me personally, I feel like I get repetitive when we go live every single day. I feel like it just gets repetitive.
Well, yeah, because the Just for Today has a lot of repetitive things in it.
So I'd rather have good content than just have content. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to give. We've been doing it for quite a few months now. So I feel like now I'm getting to the point where I want to just put some space in between my videos.
And we did the 12 steps too back in December.
But all our videos are there. If you missed anything, you can always go back and watch the replays.
And they're on YouTube also.
There's tons of videos on there. We did the 12 steps. We did the Just for the Days. We did random topics. We talked about Suboxone. We talked about methadone. We talked about disease or choice. We talked about all that. So there's plenty of good content on there if you want to go back and breeze through it.
And if you have anything you want to talk about, feel free to, drop it in the comments or send us a message and we'll work that in as well.
Yeah, I've always said you feel free. I don't care who you are. Feel free to friend request me. And if you're having a bad day or whatever, I'll always respond to you. Yeah. If you need somebody to reach out to, you can always feel free to reach out and I'll help you the best of my ability.
All right. Was that?
Yep, that's that.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
All right, y'all.